Okay, so the last presentation was by Dr. Sean Spencer. He is both an MD and a PhD, like myself. He is currently a postdoc at a lab at Stanford, and he works in the gut microbiome. So this is a topic that's been very interesting and is a hot topic in scientific circles. And so he had a couple of interesting things to talk about. So maybe I've talked about this in previous videos, but we know that there are way more microbial genes. There's lots more bacteria in your body, bacterial cells, than there are human cells. So in terms of cell count, you are more bacteria than you are human. And there's 100 times more microbial genes than human genes inside of our bodies. And the microbes mainly live in our colon. So it's the large intestines. So things like simple sugars and starches and nutrients, like vitamins and stuff, those are absorbed in our small intestines. By the time it gets to our large intestines, um, basically what's left over is the stuff we can't use, and that's fiber. Fiber is what makes it to the colon. Um, and a diet low in fiber starves our microbes. And what happens is if you starve the microbes, they start eating the mucus that lines our colon because they have no food sources, and the microbes are not the kind of microbes you should have, and they eat the mucus and they eat you. So a starving microbiota eats you, and then we know that it affects metabolism, obesity, our immune system, our central nervous system. It affects there's a gut-brain immune system axis that is pretty well known. They did a study where they took microbiota. So they took like the bacteria from an obese mice and they gave it to the lean mice, and it made the lean mice fat. And this happened in people too. This lady had a fecal transplant. That's for some people get this really bad infection in the colon called C. diff, which gives them really bad diarrhea and can be fatal. And it can be treated by taking feces from one person and sticking it into another person, which sounds disgusting, but is very effective. And so usually it's the donor is a family member or something. This woman was successfully treated, and she survived her C. diff infection with fecal microbiota transplantation. But after she received stool from a healthy but overweight donor, she gained weight. So that's an N of 1, hard to know for sure. Definitely happens in mice. That's, multiple mice have been tested. This is one person, so we don't know if that's true, but likely to be true. Um, so basically what we see is we can measure these things, but we're doing a bunch of other things. We measure blood pressure, blood glucose levels, BMI, that kind of thing, but we're doing lots of other things. We're fighting off pathogens, we're regulating our temperature, we're buffering our pH, we're measuring our energy balance, all kinds of. This is all driven largely by microbial signals. So what is a healthy microbiome? Generally, healthy microbiome, it has a lot of diversity and a large number of healthy, good bacteria for us. We don't actually know what a healthy microbiome is, really. We just know that people that eat a lot of fiber and seem to be healthier and have less of these chronic diseases that we have, they eat a lot more fiber. So hunter-gatherers eat about 100 grams of fiber per day. We in developed nations eat about 15 grams of fiber per day, which is not enough. Um, and so you can see industrialized populations like Italy, UK, Australia, USA, Canada, Ireland, their microbiome profile is much different than traditional hunter-gatherer populations or people that eat more traditional foods. And then what happens is if you have someone who comes from a area where they ate traditional food and they migrate over to America, within 6 to 9 months, their microbiome starts changing. Within years, it's completely changed. And by the second generation, it is completely changed. So it's not a genetic thing, it's a diet thing. So high diversity microbiome gives you better health. This is affected by our diet, our sanitation. So our food is and we clean, we're too clean. We are meant to live outside and be exposed to dirt and things like that, and that gives us a healthy microbiome. And then use of antibiotics hurts the microbiome. So the hallmarks of non-industrialized microbiome is higher diversity. They have many species that are missing in developed countries, and they have a higher their microbiome can degrade fiber much better. So they're much better at breaking down fiber because they are exposed to a lot of it. So the incidence the you can see that the incidence of immune system disorders like Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, asthma, and allergies, these are going up. Obesity is going up. These are driven by chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is driven largely by antibiotics, synthetic chemicals, undernourished microbiota. That's what he's concerned about. Too much hygiene, sedentary lifestyle, not enough exercise. So this is what we used to eat. Then we did this. Now we're kind of in here where this now it's not just industrial food. It's processed, sanitized food, and then we just have like a few ingredients like wheat, corn, and soybeans that just make up the most of it. And they in the processing they take out most of the fiber, so it's not very helpful. Um, and so we basically need to eat more fiber is the bottom line. And then, do probiotics help? Yes, they do, but they don't help unless you have a lot of fiber in your diet. So, most people, if you eat the right foods, you will, and eat a wide variety of fiber, you will get a healthier microbiome. Some people, I think their microbiome is so depleted that even if you give them the right environment, they can't they can't reconstitute a healthy microbiome. For those people, eating probiotics may be helpful. And probiotics in terms of fermented foods, these are like yogurts, kombucha, kimchi, sauerkraut, those kinds of things. So gut microbiomes love fiber. Those are called prebiotics. They encourage a better mucus layer, better gut health, increased fibers and fermented foods gradually. And instruction is easy. Just focus on fiber. Um, yeah, that's the bottom line. Eat lots of fiber, a large variety of fiber, and increase your intake of fermented foods. And by fermented foods, I don't mean beer. It means uh, like yogurt and kombucha and uh, maybe soy sauce, and then things like sauerkraut, pickles, traditional pickles, not processed pickles like you find in the grocery store, and kimchi and things like that. So, yep, here is and miso. Miso is another fermented food. Kale and kefir. All right. Well, I thought that was quite interesting, and hopefully that was interesting to you guys as well.